Hello everyone. It's been so cold here. It's the temperature. How's the temperature here? Temperature. It's so cold here. Look outside. It's been raining heavily yesterday and the day before yesterday, continuously for like 3 days, and at the same time, to make it worse, the electricity in the house, the cable, I think there's a problem, so we do not have electricity in the house. So I came here to the Channel Red Adventure studio, well, not in the preaching studio, but in one of the rooms to do the recording. Yeah, when it gets cold, it's very, very, very cold. You do not want to even get out of your room and go and do anything, but when it's hot, it's very hot. So anyways, we try to deal with the climate here. Anyways, today I have some very important, interesting current events to show you, and we'll be studying the book of Revelation chapter 17. But if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so that you can receive more videos when it comes out. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends if you do like it too. Well, all that being said, we'll go into our presentation, so see you after the intro. Now, as I said earlier, our study will be on the book of Revelation chapter 17. There are a wide range of opinions on what consists of the beast of Revelation chapter 17, the seven dragons, and then the other issues that not only in the Adventist churches, there's a wide range of views. But what's very interesting, what I'm going to show in this presentation is that power that is in Revelation chapter 17 is actually at work today, and trying to, let me turn this off. Okay, the power in Revelation chapter 17 is already at work today and trying to control and manipulate the system. There's another power that the Bible predicts that will come into scene, which is explained in Revelation chapter 17, which I want to show. But before I show, I want to show the current events that will actually portray a group of people, probably you have heard of them, the New World Order. And what I'm going to show is that they have been prophesied to come into sin. It's a very prophetic movement as well. And how they play a part in the prophetic line of prophecy, we will be seeing that. Studying it from Revelation as well as Daniel as well to understand that. But let's begin with our current event. Before we do that, I'll ask all of you to close your eyes and we'll pray. Heavenly Father in heaven, thank you very much for giving us this day. Thank you for the opportunity to study your word. I pray that you touch my lips, speak to me and speak through me. May the hearts that will be listening be touched, and may your name be glorified. May we do the necessary preparation that we can do. Understand the implications, the messages that we are supposed to learn from Revelation chapter 17, and see it in light of what is happening at the moment. Be with us in this presentation. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Now, the topic of this presentation is going to be New World Order, pandemic, not pandemic. Now, those who are subscribed to our channel already, you might have seen, especially those who understand pidgin, the Papua New Guineans. I did a video on coronavirus and some things that shows that there are powers that be that are controlling. Now, some of the slides that I'm going to put up on the screen are the same ones, but I'm going to go through them again so that I want to explain, bring even further. Now, let us see this article from Iran Daily. It says, coronavirus was produced in a laboratory. Former CIA intel officer. That's what former CIA intel officer says. A former American counter-terrorist specialist and military intelligence officer of the CIA has said that the coronavirus did not occur naturally through mutation, but rather was produced in a laboratory, possibly as a biochemical warfare agent. As a what? Biochemical warfare agent. Now we have the link on the screen as well. So this virus is being manipulated. It was created by the people. And if it was created by the people, there have to be a certain group of people. Who are they? And what kind of purpose do they have to play? Or what do they want to achieve? That's what we're going to see as well. Now, in the Washington Times, there's a title of an article that states, coronavirus or COVID-19, a crisis fit for a new world order. Crisis fit for what? A new world order. I'm going to read. It says, not only is America's economic crashing, not only have the world's producers come to a grinding halt. This is what we're going to come back to it a little later. Everything coming to a complete or grinding halt. But citizens are in fear. They don't know who or what to believe. They are hunkering in homes, and governments or the police are in the streets enforcing quarantine. Churches have closed the doors, some of them because they face the threat of fine and court actions if they don't. So you see, they are trying to force and bring people into a strict, complete control. Now, what I want to show, as I said, is to show that those things were created by people. But what is so interesting is it has already been planned. They said that these things are going to come into place. Now, this is a book from Dean Koontz. It was written in 1981. It was published in 1891. It was talking about a virus called 400, a perfect weapon. A perfect weapon? Now remember what the guy said from the Iran Daily. It says, the coronavirus that was created in laboratory is possibly a biochemical warfare agent. So this 400 is a perfect weapon. And you can read more about it. I'm not going to read everything about it. And in another place we saw, this article, it states, in around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and the bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatment. At the moment, they said there is no cure to coronavirus. Can you believe that? There is no cure. Now, the vaccine is coming out, but the vaccine, it's supposed not to be a cure, but it's a preventative measure. So everyone is supposed to get the vaccine. But the cure, a specific cure, there is no. And there is a lie. There are cures out there. But the mainstream media, but the powers that be do not want to tell us the cure for it. So this disease are taking the lung and bronchial tubes. It resists all known treatments. Now, who would have ever thought of a sickness that would come in the future just like this? Let me show you something else. The devil has basically, from what I see, has three ways of attacking a people. Firstly, he tries to present to you something good, to trick you into liking the thing. Now, if you do not fall for that, it will cause threats to you so that you will fall by threats. If you do not fall by threats, the third is he actually comes to implement the threats or persecute you, so that one, you will learn your lesson, and two, you will be a lesson for others to see, and then they will do what he wants. So this is the kind of government the devil wants. You see, this is what Adolf Hitler said, and he knew this very well. He said, terrorism is the best political weapon, for nothing drives people other than a fear of sudden death. And the kind of government that Adolf Hitler had, we know, he forced people to do what he wanted until his reign came to an end. When the people realized how dangerous he was, the Germans specifically, it was too late for them, until he himself took his own life after realizing that he was lost. He has lost the battle. Now, this is from Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. They said, Our plan will not take a long time to accomplish, absent from some catastrophic event such as a new Pearl Harbor. Now, if you know, this was actually written before 2001. And in the United States in 2001, we know about the Twin Tower, crashing down of the Twin Tower. You know, after the Twin Tower came crashing down, United States had very strict controlling measures, unlike before. They were controlling people very strictly, movement in and out of the country. And so this is what they want, a strict control of the people, of the economy, a kind of system that people do not have more rights. Now, this is a guy that we will be talking more in this presentation. It is David Rockefeller, one of those richest families in the world. 1% of the world's richest population owns almost the resources of the world. Now, this guy, David Rockefeller, is one of the filthy rich families in the world. They are connected with the central banks of the world. They are behind the big pharmaceutical companies. They are behind mainstream medias. There's only one of them. There's Henry Kissinger, Rockefeller, Rothschild. There's a good handful of them, families, filthy rich families that are connected to it. But I want to tell you to remember these names. So that we'll come back to some articles that was written by the Rockefeller Foundation. And this is what he said. This present window of opportunity during which a truly peaceful and interdependent world order might be built will not be open for too long. We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is a right major crisis and the nation will accept the new world order. So what are they trying to bring? They are trying to bring about a new world order, but how are they going to achieve that? Through a perfect crisis. You know, they do not have the truth. They are working with the devil. They do not have the truth. So what they will use is a lie backed with threats. Do you see that? That is what they are going to push to the people. So before they bring in the new world order, they have to come up with the perfect crisis. Now, this is another family as well. I mean, by the way, this is to show that the Rockefeller is also working with the Vatican. Those filthy rich people of the earth are working closely with the Vatican. Vatican partners with pro-abortion Rockefeller Foundation on food waste meeting. This is from the LifeSite magazine. The Holy See and the pro-abortion Rockefeller Foundation teamed up for a conference on food waste this week. So they came into a union. Now, how would you do business with someone or enter into a relation with someone unless you have a relation, some common interest? And two cannot come together unless they are in unity. They have one purpose. Now, do you remember in Revelation chapter 18, it talks about the kings of the earth have committed fornication with them, and the merchants of the air are wax rich through the abundance of her delicacy. These people who are filthy rich, actually they are backed up by the Vatican City. They have strong ties with the Vatican City. Some people think that they control the Pope, but it's the other way around. The Pope is behind them, supporting them, and everything that happens, it comes out of the Vatican. It's well planned there. And this is to show you just another example again, and we will continue on. The Rothschilds, as I said, I did not have time to go through all of them. Pope explains his economic model, promoting development and not just immediate benefits. So every time they go to the Pope, they meet with him, they discuss what is to come in the future and how they are to tackle all those issues and what are they going to do. And then they start funding all the governments around the world, the institutions, and then this is how they work together. Now, I want to show under the red arrow, you can see there's a lady there. Lady Lynn Foster, the Rothschild, one of the family members of the Rothschild, walking with the papacy. They are closely linked. Now, so you think those things that are happening are just coincidence? No, there's no coincidence. Everything comes out from the Vatican. That is the intelligence center of this dark movement that is around the world. The papacy is more the bright side of it, but the dark side of it is those people working, funding the organizations, the United Nations, the World Health Organizations. They are the kind of like the spy group. They see everything, and then that is how they extend the control around the world. Now, I'm going to show that the coronavirus, it has been fabricated. I'm not saying that this virus is not false. Don't get me wrong. This virus exists. But some of the figures that are being generated, the method in which to combat the sickness, I do not have time to go into that. It's false, doesn't work. They're saying there's no cure. It's a lie. There is cure. Now, this is I have under my possession a magazine. If you guys want it, just send me a message and tell me that you want it with your email in the description below. Or you can write to me on send it to me on my WhatsApp message, WhatsApp contact that will be posted up on the screen at the end of the video. This I have under my possession. It's titled "Hestrick and the Chariot Race." This one was supposedly published in October 19, 2017. This is before coronavirus came out, right? Now, see what happened. The comic actually paints a supposed champion from the Rome. Here comes our favorite, straight from Rome, the champion with blah, 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 some names that are there. And then at the bottom you see the great coronavirus. Who would have thought about coronavirus in 2017? Coincidence? I mean, even to this date, I still question why did they give the name of that virus coronavirus? Do you even come across that? Something to study about. But let me show you what is happening on the picture. If you see on the far left, on the top, there's a few group of individuals, a few people who seem to be a wealthy class that is cheering for this coronavirus. On the far right are the crowds, everyone. But you know what is happening? See what's happening. They're being controlled by the military, the arms. They're pushing them. They happen to be pushing them. Is that what is going on right now? Everyone is under strong lockdown. They're controlled strongly by the military. Friends, this was predicted to happen. Wow, when I saw that, I said, man, this is truly something. Now, that's not the only thing. I'm going to show you something. Now, and then the comic goes on to say, you see people screaming, coronavirus, 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 blah, blah, blah. I don't have time to go through all of it, but you see the picture, you understand, you get the picture that I'm trying to paint. Now, I'm going to go into another article, another document that I have under my possession, which I'll put on the screen. It's titled Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. This is a document written by the Rockefeller Foundation. It was written in 2010. In 2010, but they wrote about it as something to come in the future. You see, it's scenario for the future of technology. They're painting what is supposed to happen in the future. Now, read through this, we'll read through this article, and you tell me if that scenario, the situation, is not actually happening at the moment. It's a 54-page document, but I will be reading on page 18. The title states, Lockstep. It seems to be telling us that, them telling me that it's the steps in the lockdown process, what's going to happen. Now, if you see on the screen, right on the top, there's a cameras. being set up, civilian system, monitoring system. Look under the word lockstep. It states a world of tight top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizens pushback. That's what they want. A totalitarian, authoritarian kind of government that strictly controls everything that is happening. Now, we'll go into the article. Let me just read some. I will not read everything. If you want the document, send me a message. Now, in 2012, the pandemic that the world has been anticipating, they said that in 2012, but I think that is what's happening right now, the coronavirus pandemic. The pandemic that the world has been anticipating for years finally hit, unlike 2009 H1N1. Its new influenza strains originating from wild geese was extremely virulent and deadly. Even the most pandemic-prepared nations were quickly overwhelmed when the virus struck around the world, infecting nearly 20% of the global population and killing 8 million in just 7 months. The majority of them healthy young adults. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economies. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt, debilitating industries like tourism and breaking global supply chain. Even locally, normally bursting shops and office buildings sat empty for months, devoid of both employees and customers. Is that what's going on right now? I believe so. Look, the international mobility of people and goods has come to a complete halt. Some weeks ago, me and my family were planning to go back to PNG, but then they canceled the flights. Why? Everything is being strictly controlled. Now, shops and office buildings sitting empty for months, devoid of both employees and customers. It has been told that it's going to happen. Now, let's continue reading. The pandemic blanketed the planet. Through disproportionate numbers died in Africa, South America, and Central America, where the virus spread like wildfire in the absence of social containment protocol. But even in developed countries, containment was a challenge. The United States' initial policy of strongly discouraging citizens from flying proved deadly in its leniency, accelerating the spread of the virus not just within the United States, but across borders. However, a few countries did fare better, China in particular. The Chinese government's quick imposition and enforcement of mandatory quarantine for all citizens, as well as its instant and near-active sealing off of all borders, saves millions of lives, stopping the spread of the virus far earlier than in other countries and enabling a swifter post-pandemic recovery. Now, do you guys see what is being painted here? Well, what they're saying is some things that are happening, right? The control of the flights, flying, and then it talks about the control system. The country that they are promoting here, what's the country? China. What kind of government does the Chinese have? A communist system of government. Authoritarian, strict authoritarian kind of government. And that is what they're promoting. They're saying, because they have all these kind of messes, they're able to control it. Now, tell me, do you think that kind of government is good? What the citizens lack is freedom of speech, freedom of conscience. They do not have liberty of conscience. Christians are being persecuted there. That is the kind of government that China has. But these people are promoting that kind of government. Because why? Because that is their purpose. They want to have a government, their kind of government, the one world order is that kind of government. The Chinese government's quick imposition and enforcement of mandatory quarantine for all citizens, they are saying that it stops the sealing of all borders saved millions of lives. That's what they're saying. And in fact, that is indeed what happened. But the kind of government in itself is not the kind of government that God would send, not the kind of government that gives freedom of speech, liberty of conscience to the people. Now, look at this next part. This is the last quote that I have from them. China's government was not the only one that took extreme measures to protect its citizens from risk and exposure. During the pandemic, national leaders around the world flexed their authority and imposed airtight rules and restrictions, from the mandatory wearing of face masks and body temperature checks at the entries to communal places like train stations and supermarkets. Even after the pandemic faded, this more authoritarian control and oversight of citizens and their activities stuck and even intensified in order to protect themselves from the spread of increasingly global problems, from pandemic and transnational terrorism to environmental crisis and rising poverty. Leaders around the world took a firmer grip on power. Do you see that? I mean, who would have imagined in the future this disease is going to come, and descriptively explaining the kind of disease that we have at the moment, and actually the measures that are being placed, airtight restrictions, body temperature checks at every communal places, face mask. Do you see that? That is what they have planned and sent it out. That is why I'm saying that coronavirus was created in laboratories, carried out and pushed by the powers be, so that they can pull people into subjection, into strict, tighter control. You see that? That is what's happening at the moment. Now, how strict is it? How far-reaching is this power? I mean, the control. We see this in South Australia. I think it's in Victoria. This is in the Constitution. They made amendments. The coronavirus COVID-19 emergency response. What are they going to do? Removal of children, to the point that they can come to your house, knock on the door, remove your children from you. That is how strict they're going to be. You do not even have rights over your own children. Wow. I wouldn't want a government like that. Without derogating from Section 25, an authorized officer may, for the purpose of ensuring compliance with any direction under that section, remove a child from any premises, place, vehicle or vessel of a place of residence or a place of residence, to a place of residence of the child, or to the hospital or quarantine facility. So there are quarantine facilities being built. As the authorized officers think fit, and may in doing so use such force as is reasonably necessary. Really? Forcing parents, forcing the kids, removing by force children from their parents. Now, this is a document that I have in my possession as well. If you want it, tell me and I will send it to you. It's found in page 33. And this is what someone said. This is a former Australian Army Special Force Lieutenant Colonel. I'll play the video and you'll see.
Then they're coming for your kids, folks. And I have a very bad feeling that a lot of you are going to find this out the hard way. They will knock on your door and say, we suspect that you haven't been tested, therefore we're going to take your kids from you now. And the police will take them away. And you'll be standing there slack-jawed, wide-eyed, trying to figure out, what do I do now? Well, it's too late, folks, because they've taken your kids. And it gets back to your point, save your family, save the country. The two are the same. And they will take your children. Now, if you fight the coppers, you're arrested and you lose you're locked up.
Do you see how strict it is? Some of us are going to realize when it is too late. They'll knock on the door, open up the house, remove our kids from us, and then we'll realize how serious this thing is. They are creating a government that removes your rights from yourself, separating families. You do not have any rights. Whatever they tell you to do, you have to follow. Friends, we're going to go into Revelation chapter 17, but let me tell you, what is our message in this scenario? Get out of the cities. Those who are still in the cities, friends, you got to watch out because something big is coming for you. Those who are in the countries, they have more freedom and they will be at liberty to move around. They won't be strictly controlled. Whereas those in the city, they don't have much right. When the government comes, break down your doors, remove your children from you, that is when you're going to realize that you have no rights. You are being controlled. You have been controlled by this Babylonian system. Anyways, I'm going to show that these powers, the power of the one world order is already prophesied in the Bible. And they have a place in prophecy, and I'm going to show you just that. Now, this is like the part 2 of what we saw in the previous video I did on the video titled Pandemic, Not Plandemic, and then explain the one world order. And I said I'm going to show from Revelation chapter 17 that they were prophesied to come into the scene and reign for a short time before papacy actually come back and receive complete power. And they are prophesied in the Bible already, and this is what we're going to study in this presentation. But before we do that, remember, when we are coming to study the Bible, always have a pen and a paper so that you can jot down the things that I'm going to be sharing, because there's a lot of cross-references. We call it the proof text method of studying the Bible. There's a lot of interpretation of Revelation chapter 17. What I'm going to give is my opinion on it, but I do not want to make it my opinion. That's why I'm going to give various contexts of what Revelation chapter 17 is actually coming from. And yeah, that's what we'll be seeing. So before we go into that, pen and paper, take out your King James Version Bible. That's the Bible I recommend. And pray before you study. And I'll be praying before I give the presentations as well. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I pray again that you be with us in this study. What I'm going to present, it's not my message, it's not my Father's message, it's your message, truth that you have given to us to understand. But I pray that may you speak to me and through me so that the people can understand what I'm trying to present. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Revelation chapter 17, in any case when you are studying the Bible, you have to know two important things: when it is taking place and where it is taking place. Now, as we go through the study, I will show you those when it is taking place, where and the when of Revelation chapter 17. But there are also rules that you have to follow. There are sometimes that the Bible study explains one thing and then it ends somewhere, and you have to see the next phase, when it is actually beginning and where it is stopping. And usually when it repeats and explains the same thing again, it goes through the same again, but toward the end, it gives an additional information. That is what we keep seeing. In Daniel, you see the same idea being given. In Revelation, it's the same idea. God explains the seals, the 7 candlesticks, the same process, beginning with the apostolic days, the 7 candlesticks, 7 seals, 7 trumpets. And then every time it gives an additional information, it gives another angle of the prophecy and tells what is going to happen one by one. And then you come to Daniel chapter, Revelation chapter 12, 13. Every time it does the same thing. It tells you, give you a scenario, it ends somewhere, and then it repeats again. Now, what we see in Revelation chapter 17 is basically the beast, but then there's the whore that sits upon the seven-headed beast, a red scarlet dragon, seven-headed beast, and which basically it's called many waters. Now, if you study carefully the Revelation chapter 17, it's basically the punishment. It's explaining what will be the punishment of the woman that sits upon many waters. Let's read Revelation chapter 17 verse 1. It says, "And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials and talked to me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." What was the woman sitting upon? She was sitting upon the dragon, upon the scale-colored beast. We will see a little further. But the scale-colored beast is also called waters. Now, if you see, as I said, the punishment here is actually the punishment of the seventh plague, a sixth plague. What happens in the sixth plague? Let's go to Revelation chapter 16, verse 12. It says, "And the sixth angel poured out the vial upon the river, great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, and the way of the king of the east might be prepared." So what happened is the seventh plague is the drying up of the river Euphrates. Now, here it says in Revelation chapter 17, verse 1, the judgment of the whore that seated upon many waters. So the waters, it's like his base, its power, its source of strength. Let's see, what does water represent? Water, Revelation chapter 17, verse 15, it says, "And he said unto me, The waters which thou sawest where the whore seated are people and multitudes and nations and tongues." That is what the water means. So, that is by saying, it seems to be saying, the strength of the woman is the people. But specifically, if you see, look closely, it's actually the leaders. There's going to be, in the reading, we will see the 10 kings. Now, let me tell you the setting of it. The punishment is actually seen in verse 16, you see. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make a desolate and naked, and shall heat their flesh, and burn her with fire." What's going to happen? The power source, those people, the 10 horns will turn against the woman and fight with her, and make her desolate and naked, and eat her flesh. That's the same power. Again, we see the same scenario in Revelation chapter 18, verse 7. It says, "How much she had glorified herself and lived deliciously, so such torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall a plague come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord who judgeth her." So, you see the punishment? What is her punishment? She says that she is no widow. She has a lot of husbands. Those will come against her, and they will make her desolate. So that is basically the punishment. Now, one of the principles of prophecy, as I said, is the time period. When is the time period? I'm going to explain to you, but show you from the Bible, but let me tell you, the timing is around 1798. I will explain why I'm saying that. Now, let's continue reading. "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of their fornication." So this woman has been giving wine to the world. Now, verse 3, it says, So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. So what's basically happening here is that the woman says, I will show you the punishment, but listen, as I said, the time period, the period in which this is happening, it's not during the plagues though. Why am I saying that? Because during the plagues, the 10 kings would have been ruling with the papacy, ruling with the papacy. And how do I know that? Verse 12 says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet. So they haven't received a kingdom as yet. They are to come in the near future, not yet, but receives power as kings 1 hour with the beast. No, so they haven't come into the scene yet. And when they come into the scene, they will reign 1 hour with the beast, and then they will hate the war and make it desolate. So do you see the setting here? Now, so when is that setting? It's not during if it's not during the 6th plague, when is it? When John wanted to see, where did the angels bring him? This is basically the angel of the angel that shows to John the things that are happening is the angel of the 7th plague, the angels that bring out the 7th plague. But then he takes him to the scene after 1798. Now, why do I say that again? When he wanted to see what was happening, the angel took him where? Into the wilderness. Now, always remember, there is always a consistency of the words that the Bible is used. And the first time we saw that the woman was persecuted, remember, by the dragon. First he tried to persecute the baby, but the baby was caught up to God. And then because he cannot persecute the baby, he went persecuting the woman. And the woman, where did she went? She escaped into the wilderness. And then the wilderness, the pure church of God was hiding in the wilderness. And who hide the woman? The earth. Another explanation again, the earth, where there is no one, a nation where there is no man living, no man's living, no man living. A new earth coming into the scene here, being explained by prophecy. What nation is that? It's the United States of America. Now, the earth or the wilderness that hid the pure church, pure woman, the wilderness ushers out the woman as a prostitute. Now, do you see that? So where was John taken? To the wilderness. After 1798, a power after 1798, where it explains the rising up of a new organization, a new nation in Revelation chapter 13, a nation coming out of the earth, the United States, and then the earth ushering out the woman. Now, remember from prophecy, what does woman represent? Woman represents the church. Now, what does a prostitute represent? Prostitute represents a church as well. But this time, prostitute does not represent the pagan church. It does not represent Muslim, Buddhist, all those churches. No, it does not explain them. The prostitute, it's explaining God's people apostating, leaving him out of the picture and seeking the power of the world. That is what idolatry means. Adultery, spiritual adultery is. So the Protestant America, leaving God, seeking the power of the state, now she is corrupting the state, actually, the church actually corrupt its purity, and it's becoming a prostitute. That is what's being explained here. So, and I saw the woman sit upon the scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Another thing about prophecy. One, we saw that you have to know the place, the when and the where. When? After 1798. What happened in 1798? The papacy come his rulership come to a complete end. Another nation rising out of it after 1798. What nation is it? The United States. Now, here we see another key being given here. The red dragon, the scarlet-colored beast, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, let me tell you this. There is a consistency in the book of Revelation. It talks about the history being explained in 7 periods. Why do I say that? What do you mean? God, how He rules, keeping the fire of the church, the 7 candlesticks, in 7 periods, 7 candlesticks. Jesus walking at the altar of showbread. The 7 seals takes place at the table of showbread. 7 trumpets, Jesus is at the altar of incense, showing the period of church beginning with the apostolic days till the end again, 7 periods as well again. There is God working. Now, if you are asking, so what does Satan work? How does Satan work? The 7-headed dragon, a dragon having 7 heads. Now, what Revelation does is it portrays one head ruling at one time in a specific period of history. And then that power is represented by the power. It actually begins from the same period. It actually begins with the same power that Daniel saw. And we're going to come to that. But I want to explain that those 7 heads are represented by the 7 different stages. Now, how do you mean? What do you mean? Remember, the same dragon we see in heaven. In a primary sense, the dragon represents who? It represents the devil in Revelation chapter 12. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, the whole serpent, which is called the devil. So the dragon is the devil in a primary sense. But the dragon wanted to kill the baby. Who is the baby? Jesus Christ. What power was represented during the time of Jesus? The Roman power. Now, after the baby cannot be killed, the same dragon persecuted the church of God, which ran into the wilderness. Now, when it ran into the wilderness, what did the dragon do? It cast water out of his mouth. Did he say mouth? No. It's only one mouth. But I thought that there were 7 heads. That's right. But at one period of history, there is only one power ruling, represented by a beast. Now the head is actually a beast. And then it tries to persecute the woman. And then at the end, the same dragon come against the remnant of a seed. Do you see that? How do you know that the beast, the head, is actually a beast? Revelation chapter 7:13, it talks about the beast that comes out of the sea. And if you see from what the consistency of the history, it's beginning with the same nations that Daniel saw. Remember, a lion, a bear, a leopard, and a dragon. In the vision of John, he actually saw a dragon, a leopard, a bear, and a lion. What's happening here? John has a specific time period. Remember, the where and the when. Daniel, in his time, he saw lion, bear, leopard, dragon. He looked into the future. But during the time of John, he was reigning during the time of the dragon, based the Roman power. And then he looked backwards and he saw the dragon ruling, and then leopard, bear, and lion, the far end. Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. Now, that's explaining those features of those nations portrayed in Daniel. It's also being shown here again, 1 and 2. Now, How do I know that one head represents a beast as well? And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. When the head was healed, the world wondered after the what? The head? No, the beast. So the head is actually a beast, and it does not go after all the heads. There is one head ruling at one time. Now let us go back again to Revelation chapter 17, verse 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet colored, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a gold cup in her hands full of abominations and filthiness of her fornications. Now this is basically the color of the Catholic Church. If you go through the images and pictures, you will see bishops wearing gold rings, decked with precious stones. And then purple is a color that they have, red is a color that they had, but they will never have the color blue. You know why? Blue represents the law of God, and they do not have the blue color. And the abominations, you go through the Bible, you can use a concordance or your Bible concordance and check what does Bible call abomination, and you will see necromancy, talking with the dead, sun worship, idolatry, bowing to idols, exactly the things that the papacy promotes. And that is what the papacy does. So there is a specific power. There's the papal power, the Roman power. Now, in verse 5 it says, and upon her heads was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So that's the explanation of the woman. She is called Babylon as well, and we know of other places in Revelation as well, like 14 that talks about Babylon is fallen. Fallen means there is no hope for returning back to the arms of God, is rejected of God's mercy. Now, verse 6 it says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Now, as I said, the time period is at the time when it has already drunk the blood of the martyrs of Jesus and the blood of the saints after 1798. 7, it says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Now the detail that carrieth is a very important detail. We will come to that in a little while. So these are nations that actually carried the woman, the nation that actually carried the woman. Let's further go on. Verse 8 it says, and the beast which thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition, and they that dwelleth on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Now, very important key. It says that the beast that thou saw was and is not, and shall ascend again out of the bottomless pit. Let me ask you, where did we saw a beast that was and is not and shall ascend again? Could it be representing to the beast of Revelation chapter 13? Let's go into Revelation chapter 13 and we will see if we see the exact similar wording again. It says in verse 3, and I saw the head, one of the head, as it were wounded to death. So, which was, but then it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So, deadly wound was healed. What kind of people wondered after him? Verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Isn't it the same thing? Who were wandering after him? Whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Do you see that? There's a connection. Now, the word bottomless pit here, what does it mean? In the Greek language, the word bottomless means Hades. Hades means the dead. So this power rises from dead. It received a deadly wound, but the deadly wound was healed, and now is coming from the death to life again. And then what shall happen to him? He shall go into perdition. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. Let's go quickly. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. I will not see verse 4, but I want this one. The son of perdition. The power that is exactly like that of Judas, the one that destroys, and then after he himself going into perdition. That is the power that was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit again. Now, listen. And here is the mind which had wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman seated. What does the woman mean? Remember, it said the woman sits on the waters, but then she sits on the beast as well. And now it's saying that she sits on mountain. What does mountain represent? Now we saw from the beast that if it was a beast, then it could represent worldly power, and as I said, during a specific period of time. Now, Psalms chapter 48, verse 2. Psalms chapter 48, verse 2. What does a mountain represent? Psalms chapter 48, verse 2. I'll quickly read that for you. It says, beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion on the side of the north, the city of the great king. So on a mountain, we find the city of the great king. So the government here, the Mount Zion, is significant of the kingdom of heaven. We see the same thing being portrayed in Daniel as well. Daniel chapter 2, if you remember the dream of Nebuchadnezzar, the dream of the image. The different succeeding nations, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, and the 10 divided nations. Now, let's go to verse 35. 35, it says, and the iron, there was a mixture of iron and clay. Let me go down to the end. It says, and the stone that smote the image became a great nation and filled the whole earth. So the stone grew and became a great nation and filled the whole earth. It became a great mountain. What does the mountain represent? In verse 44, and in the days of this king shall the king of heaven, the God of heaven, set up a kingdom. So that stone that grew into a mountain is actually a what? A kingdom. So a mountain is represented by a kingdom. Now, you can read verse 45 as well. Let me go to verse 10 of Revelation chapter 17. And there are 7 kings, 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other is yet to come. And when he cometh, he will continue a short space. Now, let's take a breath here. There are 7 kings, 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other is yet to come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. What could that represent? Now, as I said, if we are consistent to the prophetic interpretation, even the spirit of prophecy says we should study Daniel and Revelation conjointly together. One supports the other. One is a prophecy sealed, the other is a prophecy revealed. Now, if we connect the reigning of the different nations from the time of Babylon upwards, what nations do we have? Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, Imperial Rome, Papal Rome, and then what else? Now it says, this is giving us another additional information of the timing. It's saying there are 7 kings. Now remember in Daniel chapter 7, verse 17, it tells us that the beast represented what? Represented king. But then when we went to 23, verse 23, the kings and kingdoms are synonymous. So Revelation here, there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen. 1 is. So which one is the is? If we see Revelation, Babylon is gone, is fallen. Medo-Persia is fallen. Greece is fallen. Rome, pagan Rome is fallen. Papal Rome is fallen. What is the next power? Now, my suggestion to you is after the Papal Rome comes United States of America. How do I know that? Revelation again confirms us by painting a picture and giving it as another separate beast. Revelation chapter 13, a beast coming out of the earth. How do I further know that? Some people actually put France, saying that France conquered the papal power and then it rose to power. Look at verse 7. Verse 7 tells us that these are the beasts, the mystery of the woman and the beast that carried her. Carried the what? Carried the woman. Now, let me ask you, did France carry the church? No. The French government under Napoleon, under Berthier, it persecuted the church. It bring the reign of the church to complete end. They did not want to have anything to do with the papal church anymore. That was the kind of government that they had. So France did not carry the woman. The next power after the papacy that carried the woman is the United States. One is, and then it says, what does it say? And the other is yet to come, not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short time. One is not yet come, but when he comes, what will happen? How long will it continue? Only a short space of time. And 11 it says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7 and goeth into perdition. Key detail again. Now, if you see the Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, pagan Rome, papal Rome, United States. Now, this, let me tell you what is before I explain, is the one world order, one world organization controlling the world. Now, you will be saying that, but then there is the 7th head. What about the papacy coming again into the scene? Actually, papacy is the 5th head, pagan Rome and then papal Rome. But what happened? The pagan Rome, his head is healed. So the 8th that you see is not a different one, but the same one being healed again. Let me explain again. Let me make it even clearer. Those 7 heads of the red dragon, the 7 heads. The first one is Babylon. The second one is Medo-Persia. The third one is Greece. 4th, pagan Rome. 5th, papal Rome. 6th, United States. 7th, one world order. It will come into place, but it will rule only a short time. And then the 8th that will come is not another one is of the seven, one of the seven, which is actually the fifth, that was wounded. He will rise up again, but this time he will rise and then go into perdition. Verse 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as king, 1 hour with the beast. So what does the 10 horns here represent, if you may be asking? Now let's go to Revelation chapter 13 first before I explain both of them. These have one mind and shall give the power and strength to the beast. So what do? They give the power and strength to the beast. I want to show with you a commentary on SDA Bible Commentary, Volume 7, page 983, paragraph 6. It says, these have one mind. Commentary on that, it states, there will be a universal bond of union, one great harmony, a confederacy of Satan's force. What does that sound like? Sounds like the United Nations. Sounds like the one world order. All the world coming under the same umbrella. Thus is manifested the same arbitrary opposing power against religious liberty, freedom to worship God according to the dictates of conscience as was mandated by papacy, when in the past it persecuted those who dare to refuse to conform to the religious rites and ceremonies of Romanism. Now I want to show another quotation from Maranatha, page 183, paragraph 3. It says, what is it that gives its power to this kingdom? What is it that gives its kingdom to this power? Protestantism, a power which, while professing to have a temper and spirit of a lamb and to be allied to heaven, speaks with the voice of a dragon. It is moved by the power from beneath. So a power from beneath is controlling it. Now, do you see the first quotation that I saw? The 10 horns, they have one mind. It says these are one minds. This to me seems like a unity of power, all the powers around the world coming together, much like that of the United Nations. Now, how do I know this? Let's further confirm it. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3 talks about a certain word that they will be using at the end of time. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travaileth upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Now, they are saying peace and safety. I like the version in Spanish. It says, paz y seguridad, peace and security. And what nation in the world, what organization in the world today has the motto, as the slogan, peace and safety? The United Nations. Who is behind the United Nations? The same group that is pushing forward the one world order. Who are they working closely with? The Pope of Rome. They are trying to bring him back into power. But when they come into the scene, how long will they reign? Only a short time. Now, 10 kings, what does that represent? It's interestingly, the United Nations have divided the whole world into 10 regions. And those 10 regions, they call it the 10 kingdoms. The 10 kingdoms of the world, with represented leaders. Now, those will be the regions that will be working together closely with the United Nations under the one world order to push forward their kind of government, the one world government. But how long will they reign? Only a short time, and then all of them will give the power unto the beast. But who will be victorious? This is the important part of the reading. Verse 14, it says, they shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. God's very own people who are called by him, also are chosen, they will also be faithful to him. They have the commandment of God and the faith of Jesus Christ. That's why they will be faithful to him, knowing that they have been chosen by God. Verse 15, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the war seated people and multitudes and nation and tongue. So the people, multitude, nation and tongue, which the woman set upon, a woman received power upon, will turn against the woman at the very end. The power that they had will turn again and curse the woman, make her desolate, make her naked, and they will heat up her flesh, as we see in verse 16. Now you can read through the rest of the chapters of Revelation chapter 17, but this is basically the understanding that I have on Revelation chapter 17. They are pushing forward the one world order, but this power will come and rule only a short time, and after they rule only a short time, the papal power will come back again. Remember, the seven heads, what does it represent? Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, papal Rome, the one that was and is not and shall ascend again and go into papacy. So the one he is at the moment is the United States, but it does not United States as well. But after the United States, it will come the one world order. That is why the one world order group, they are trying to cripple the economy of the United States. They are trying to change the constitution of the United States, and they will be successful. They want to change the constitution of it, removing religious liberty and rights from the people and making them slave under their power, their regimen. And they will play the dirty game. And then after that, after they have come up with such a government, they will give their power onto the beast. And then the beast will be ruling with a power, very strong power, that no one will be able to buy and sell, lest he that has the mark. But what happened to the people of God? They are chosen, called, they will be faithful to him until the end. And I want to be part of that group which will be faithful to him. I hope that you are a part of that group as well. May God bless you. Let's close up with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father in heaven, thank you very much for this presentation. May this presentation sink into our hearts. May we learn it, and may we know that you have called us and you have chosen us to be faithful to you, not only once in a while, but until the end, and you will give us a crown of life. Thank you very much. May your name be glorified. May we live as your chosen people, live as a faithful people now, so that when the greater test comes, we will be faithful to you, knowing you have never forsaken us. Thank you very much. Answer this prayer according to your own will, because I ask in Jesus' name.